Hello everyone, how are you guys doing? Shigaraki-san here to do a review on Boku no Hero Academia, Chapter 94. Now, this chapter, as usual, was fire, it was greatness. But it's sad, man. This chapter honestly made me sad. Because first of all, it's the conclusion to the fight that was All For One versus All Might. And just seeing this end and everything, I'm just like, oh my goodness. Before I actually dive into the review, I just want to say how great of a fight this actually was. Like, props to Horikoshi and how good it was. 5 chapters this fight was. For 5 weeks, we were experiencing greatness. We were experiencing emotional turmoil, hype, great story development, and everything. For these straight 5 weeks was awesome. These 5 chapters, best chapters of Boku no Hero Academia so far, in my opinion. And this chapter is just like it's a what's the word? It's like a coming of a new generation. Deku and Shigaraki, that is what's going to be happening in the future. Now, I don't want to dive into the whole fight of like which has spanned over these past chapters. I'm not going to be talking about this chapter. I will be doing a video about the fight between All Might and All For One sooner or later. That may be very long, because I want to dive in both of their characters, what we know about them, how great the fight was, and all of that. Now, the thing is which gets me is, obviously it's sad because All Might won the fight, and I'm not sure much of us saw that happening. I think a lot of us were, thinking All Might was going to die. Personally, I thought he wasn't, but I know that a lot of the fan base thought that All Might was going to, kick the bucket. So, in this chapter, he didn't die, but metaphorically, he did. And that is, All For One. He says it in this chapter. No, sorry, One For All. In this chapter, it was beautiful, especially the first couple of pages. And it was like, he was, let me get it up, actually. I need to get that greatness up. Because the way he said it as well, he was just like, farewell, All For One. And he's like, farewell, One For All. And this is just what gets me at first. First of all, it's All For One's character. The fact that he's still such a villain, yet his whole gravitas and his whole atmosphere that he holds, it's so, not heroic like, but just so I wouldn't even say humble, it's just normal. It's something that I wouldn't have associated with like the end game villain. Now, what does he say? So he's just like, this is farewell, One For All. And you need to hold, because it's so much weight which is carrying. Not One For All, sorry, All For One. Let me go to the previous page. There it goes. Because he says, this is farewell, All For One. And it carries so much weight into that. Because you guys need to understand, this is like, this fight is an ending of what happened 5 years ago. So we don't know what happened 5 years ago. But we know through a little bit of the flashbacks, through a bit of just the character development that is All Might and Gran Torino, we know that a lot of things happened. And Horikoshi, he employed it in a way that we don't know what's happened, but we still kind of have a thought of the extent of how impactful that was to these characters, because we're seeing their reactions to this day, especially All Might a couple of chapters back. He was broken. His whole spirit was literally broken when All For One brought back up Shimura and Nano. So we do know that this fight was monumental, not just the extent of their powers when they were in their prime, but also the extent of how much it carried a weight on their soul. And that's really awesome, because when he's saying this is farewell, All For One, he's saying that no more, I will not fight you again, I have won. He's saying farewell to Shimura and Nano. He's saying farewell to everything that happened those 5 years ago, and he's coming triumphant as the symbol of peace. And it would have been so awesome if, I'm just like thinking of a what if, for example, what if the story, I wouldn't wanted the story to change in such a way where at the start we would have known, or we've got a flashback earlier on. But just imagine that Horikoshi, he crafted the story in where somewhere during these 94 chapters we got the flashback of the 5 years ago and we knew everything. Now imagine how much weight that would carry onto All Might, especially this page. Imagine how much weight that would carry on All Might, on those words, and how us of the readers we would feel. That would be unbelievable. That would be unbelievable. In the last chapter, we got a little bit of the flashback of All Might's drive, how he wanted to be a pillar, how he wanted to be a symbol, and he stands. This is how much he holds it to himself. We see it in this chapter. So that was really beautiful how I was saying that this is farewell. And the thing is, what is so sad is because in this widespread page, he's saying like this is farewell, and he says it with such strength. And then in the next page, when he does that United States of Smash, first of all, let me talk about that for a second before I get back to what I was going to say. United States of Smash, how did none of us see that coming? Like, we knew it was like Colorado, we knew it was Denver, or like Detroit, or the other kind of ones he's done. Like, we didn't think it'd be a whole combined, you know, the whole country, like United States of Smash or something like that. So that was pretty awesome to see. And I'm just liking the whole execution of it, because the last page of last chapter got us lit, and he was just like, and then All-For-One was just like shallow, and All Might was just like, of course I didn't put my back into it, and he comes in with that beauty. Now, as I was saying, just in the last page, it held so much strength. Now this page, it's saying this is farewell, one for all. So he's talking obviously about his own power, that his whole power of one for all, we need to understand, is gone. So he no longer has, the embers of the flame is withered out. He has no, one for all is no longer in his body. He has no longer he has no remnants of that power. He's gone. The power's gone. It's left him, and I'm guessing all of it is now within Deku. Now he says this is farewell one for all, and it juxtaposes and parallels so amazingly to the previous page, because the previous page expressed strength, and this one was within that strength there was weakness, and it was sadness, because it was just like, I'm no longer the symbol of peace no more. I no longer have that power to become the country's pillar, and I felt that was very sad, especially as Horikoshi's an awesome writer. The fact that I'm partly sad that All-For-One lost, and that is just crazy, because you wouldn't what's the word? You wouldn't think of that. You wouldn't feel like that in like a hero kind of villain. You would have no empathy for the villain, no sort of way. Yet we kind of do, and just the artwork in this chapter was phenomenal. I have to say that. I was just, especially, I really do love Gran Torino's character. I love how Horikoshi had developed throughout his character. I truly thought after the training arc, after this thing, we would have seen no more of Gran Torino. Like, obviously we would have heard of him, but I didn't think he'd have such a role in this way. How even though he's finished, All Might's finished the fight, and Gran Torino's just like, let him be. Right now, this country does not have a pillar, and so he says that he will become that pillar. And then the Gran Torino is just like, he's doing his job right now. The symbol of peace as the #1 hero is final. And it's just beautiful, because like, this is the last time All Might is probably going to be in that form. And it's just like, it's an end to it. It's honestly, it's the end. And this, Bakugo's here, man. My man Bakugo is in this chapter. And we know that this is good. This is my theory. And this is why I really do love Boku no Hero. And this is why I love if I'm right with what Horikoshi's doing right now, I would be so happy. I would be so happy right now. Now, Bakugo's in this chapter, and All Might points at the camera, and he's just like, "You're next." So obviously, society feels like there's a double meaning in that, and it was obviously stated in this chapter. So All Might saying, "You're next." He's still holding that. You could say a facade, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's a facade, because a facade kind of implies like a fake or like a story. But All Might's kind of not doing that. He kind of is. But he's obviously doing it for the right reason. So he's saying like, oh, you're next. So he kind of presents him still as the symbol of peace with all that strength, meaning that he cannot be taken down even by the toughest of villains, which we saw throughout this fight. But in actuality, he's saying to Deku, you're next. You're the next generation. He needs to take up the symbol of peace now. And it's gonna, and we, like, honestly, this chapter's awesome, man. I don't know what to say. How great is this series? Damn. Okay, so like, obviously with the whole next thing, so passing of the torch has passed, and the previous generation is gone down. So it's obviously sad. I'm hoping in the next arc, I'm happy that All Might's alive, and I knew he was going to be alive, because we need All Might to carry on teaching Deku. Now, with what I was saying with Bakugo kind of hears that. Now, I think Bakugo understands as well, because even from the start of the series, Deku did tell Bakugo that this is not his quirk. So Bakugo he doesn't know about All Might, but he knows that this isn't Deku's quirk. So he's kind of a little bit smart, and he's kind of clocking on. And I think he'll clock on in the future. Either he'll understand it, All Might will tell him, or Bakugo will tell him. Now, this is what I think is happening, and I hope this is true, because I'd be so happy. So, All Might saying you're next, Deku understands this, and then Bakugo looks at Deku with our face, like he's kind of connecting the dots right now. This chapter lays it up to be the next symbol of peace, which is Deku, and the next head of the villain alliance, the next big bad guy, which is Shigaraki. Now, the way it's setting up with the symbol of peace, it's setting it up with how Deku's generation is going to be different. So there will not be one single symbol of peace. And I think this is true because, first of all, Bakugo. I think the symbol of peace is not going to be carried by one hero. And I truly think it'll be Deku and Bakugo. It'll probably be that. It may actually be Deku, Bakugo, Todoroki, and Ida. Because it's just the way Horikoshi has set up those four main characters, they will be big in the future when they're older. But I think the symbol of peace will not just be up to Deku. Obviously, Deku's going to be there, because I've been thinking about it myself, and I've been thinking, hang on, in the future, he's going to be number 1, he's going to be number 2, he's going to be number 3. Now Horikoshi kind of, he doesn't always go down this stereotypical route. So Deku may be number 1, but he may not, if you kind of catch my drift. Either way, at the start of the series, Deku did say, I can't remember word for word what he said at chapter 1, but he said, this is my journey of becoming the greatest hero. So I don't know if he said number 1 or whatever, but either way, it didn't really say, this is my journey of becoming the symbol of peace, or like, the only symbol of peace in the generation. So who knows, maybe Horikoshi will do it where multiple heroes can carry up the symbol of peace, and that could be, Deku and Bakugo. Who knows, either way, throughout this chapter, even just seeing Bakugo in it, we do know that Horikoshi is telling us that Bakugo is going to be a major character in the future. Not already that he is. Now, I really want to talk about the latter half of this chapter, and that is, Stain, man! Stain is back, so that got me hyped, because Stain was awesome. He just got me all so excited. Now, All For One is in prison right now, and this is, you guys have to understand, this is what gets me hyped. The man couldn't see. Obviously, when we saw his character design and the fact he had no nose or eyes or anything, you're wondering, wait, how's he seeing or something? Maybe it's just scars over it. He couldn't see. He had no sight whatsoever. He was using an infrared quirk that made him be able to feel the rustling of the clothes or the tiny vibrations in the air. That's what he's been using for the past 6 years. So we need to understand, this fight 6 years ago, and bear in mind, it was 6 years ago, not 5 years ago. Horikoshi stated in an interview saying that he got it wrong. It's actually 6 years ago. This fight 6 years ago must have damaged All For One immensely. You need to understand that, because in the previous chapter, All For One was just like, wounded heroes are truly terrifying. And we do see it in this chapter, because All Might went to such disastrous lengths, even when he was in such a wounded state, which showed his drive. And All For One said that when you were running at me with your guts spilling out, I still see that in my nightmares. And I didn't really take that very deeply, and I'm just understanding the fact that All For One had so much injuries. You need to understand, the man was, I can't even imagine how demolished he must have been from that fight 6 years ago. He was fighting All Might and Shimura Nana. And the way he says it, the way he's saying it kind of shows that he was scared. But the fact that he's fragile as well, because the way he talks as well just gets me. He's just like, with the sensors all over the place here, I can't make sense of what's going on around me. Sorry. Like, he's apologizing. The man's got manners, but it doesn't stay right there. Like, he has the way he's saying it. It kind of gives off a sense of like actuality. It gives a sense of not humility. He's like a sense that he's truly sorry. And that just gets me, man. Like, the fact that we're seeing Stain as well, that's mad. And the way he's like, I lost All Might, it was truly an unsightly struggle. It just sounds like he's sad as well, but you made a mistake. I hope the battle would provide a chance to get close to my people. You misread our time to say farewell, and you lost your time to die. Now, this is why I'm a little bit confused when it says you misread our time to say farewell. What does he mean by that? Like, you misread our time. What do you mean by our time? Does it mean by him and All Might included? I'm not really sure, but it says, and you lost your time to die. So it kind of implies that All Might would have been better off if he was dead. The things which is going to happen in the future is going to be way worse, and I think that's true. I feel like Shigaraki, the difference between Shigaraki and All For One is, All For One's more controlled than what he would do. Shigaraki is just unrelentless. He's an unrelentless vehicle of rage and evil. Now, Shigaraki will not hold back. He'll do anything, and we saw what he done in the Hosu City with the Nomus, just destroying that city. So it really is worse, because this is what I'm saying. All Might kind of won the war. Or you could say, no, All Might kind of won the battle, but he lost the war, if you kind of mean what I'm saying. Because the fact that Shigaraki's gone, not Shigaraki, sorry, All for One's gone, Shigaraki's left alone, but he's learned, he's developed, so he's got allies, he can become stronger, he can rely on people and keep on improving. And the fact that All for One's gone is that it means that All Might again has taken someone away from Shigaraki. Even though we don't know everything about his past and Shigaraki's family, we do know that All Might did take something away from Shigaraki. But that's the way All for One kind of presented it, and that's what Shigaraki believes. But again, All Might has taken someone close from Shigaraki, and that's going to fuel the fire. The fire thing again, as a symbol, man. But either way, like, that's going to fuel Shigaraki's hatred, and he's going to grow. And that's all what All for One kind of wanted. Now, part of me does think, like, I still find it hard to believe that All for One done everything for Shigaraki. So maybe in the future, I don't know if Shigaraki is just a pawn in All for One's plans. I'm not really sure. I do feel like this is an end of a generation, so I don't really see another fight between All Might and All for One happening again. We may get a flashback from the 6 years ago. I'm not really sure. It doesn't really seem possible now, because it kind of seemed like this a couple of chapters ago that would have been a perfect time. But who knows? Horikoshi will put it in when he's going to put it in. So it's the next generation now. Shigaraki and Deku is up to them, and it's gonna be mad. Like, I can't wait for them. This is an end of the arc. All for One versus All Might. All for One lost, All Might won, but you kind of know symbolically and on the sidelines, All for One kind of did won the war. Either way, tell me thoughts comment below what you thought of this chapter. Tell me what you thought of this fight in general. How did you feel with everything, with kind of All Might saying goodbye to One for all his powers, and with Deku being the next symbol of peace. So the next arcs are going to be awesome. This arc was amazing. Horikoshi stepping up, honestly. Since All for One's entrance, the level of writing and development is just it hit the roof. So tell me thoughts comment below. Shigaraki-sama, I'll see you next week for that greatness. That is chapter 95. I'm wondering what's going to happen at chapter 100. That's going to be mad. But anyway, tell me thoughts comment below. Shigaraki-sama, if you like anything that I had to say in the review, drop a like. That would be greatly appreciated. Subscribe for weekly reviews of the manga Boku no Hero, and I'll see you next week for that greatness, which is chapter 95, and I'll see you next week for the anime. Shigaraki-sama.